Watch this.
Right now, we're at a bit of a stalemate.
State of Idaho is ready for liftoff. The new Idaho LAUNCH program is now available to Idaho students. State is ready to send some significant money to graduating high school seniors to help them to pay for an education so they can get an in-demand job. Talking with Governor Little next.
Just pandemonium. It was a mess.
Maybe you didn't know, ligers, the lion-tiger hybrid, yeah, they're a real thing. And they have a really interesting story and history that takes place right here in the state of Idaho. Andrew Bartline takes us on a trip to Lava Hot Springs. Yeah, we're going to Ligertown. You ask the questions, we supply the answers. That's my favorite part of the 208. And we have a caucus conundrum question to address, and we have some information for you about what the political parties are looking to doing in 2024 for the Presidential Preference Caucus. We'll talk to you next on the 208. Big week for Idaho Governor Brad Little. Today is the rollout for Little's new signature program, Idaho LAUNCH. So I guess that makes it Launch Day. For years, we've heard Little and other Idaho leaders talk about the go-on rate of Gem State high school students. And I want to take a look at this. At last check, 2022, Idaho had 42%, or 8,459 out of 20,253 students from the graduating senior class of 2022. Only 42% enrolled in post-secondary education in the fall, immediately after graduation. So 58%, or close to 12,000 students, they did not enroll. And the go-on rate has fallen over the years. It was about 50% in 2017, 54% if you look all the way back to 2012. Less people going on means that less people are working to get certified to fill the valuable openings across Idaho. And in recent years, and COVID really pushed this, the career market in Idaho has seen interest slim out. But there's a lot of jobs, and there are major in-demand careers that Idaho needs to fill. In fact, the governor's office has a list of major fields and the amount of openings annually in Idaho. Carpenters, electricians, nurses, roofers, teachers, you name it. As you'll see here, there are thousands and thousands of jobs out there. But getting qualified for those jobs can be challenging financially, talking about paying for school. So in an effort to solve the workforce question, Governor Little had the idea to help Idahoans pay for school. Today, the program, Idaho LAUNCH, officially kicked off, and the Idaho LAUNCH program will offer a one-time opportunity for eligible students to receive 80% off their tuition and fees. Now, the application portal is open today, and the grants will provide a maximum of $8,000 per student. I asked Little about the launch, the concept, and what success looks like to him. I know there's $80 million out there for the program. What happens if it's all used?
Well, that's a great thing. If it's all used. If we've got capacity and it's all used and they go on, but with the Opportunity Scholarship money and Launch, there's $100 million to help our Idaho kids go on. And the cost of education is just so much more expensive. And, you know, we don't want our Idaho kids packing debt. You know, they still have to put some skin in the game, but we got it. It's going to be almost on the same relative affordability as it was when I went to school, and it's just gotten more and more expensive. The intent of just making it to where our Idaho kids can stay in Idaho and have good careers, we're all the way there. And you know, my issue is I want those kids to be masters of their own destiny, and having that kind of an opportunity. You know, some kids that have been good students and they've got parents that help them and they get scholarships. They get to be masters of their own destiny, but we are going to broadly increase the number of students that are going to be masters of their own destiny when this gets in place.
When you talk about the in-demand careers, I have the list here that the Workforce Development Council put together. I mean, there's not like 5 or 10 careers here. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of jobs. To folks that are learning about the program, and really high school students that are going to enroll in it, how would you explain to them the depth of careers that are part of in-demand?
We know the number one area is healthcare. Nurse practitioners, nurses, CNAs, physician's assistants, pharmacy techs. That's going to be, and that's all over the state of Idaho. In the Magic Valley, food processing. Up here, a lot of those jobs are going to be relative to the expansion that Micron's going to take place. They absolutely have to have a technical workforce that understands the very sophisticated equipment that's going to be in that world-class facility.
And we've heard from critics of the program since its inception, and the big S word they like to use, that this is socialism. When you hear that, what's your reaction?
Well, you could argue that a K-12 education is socialism. You could argue that our traditional higher education, we've always paid part of the cost for journalists, for animal scientists, for doctors, for lawyers. Why do they feel that helping plumbers and welders and food processing technicians, automobile technicians, why that's not socialism?
When you think into the distance of this program, what does success look like to you?
Just more of our kids going on. It'll just raise the level of attainment, the level of career satisfaction, because my goal from the very get-go when I applied for this job was that I want our kids to stay in Idaho, to choose to stay in Idaho. This is going to go a long way towards doing that.
What are you most anticipating to hear about tomorrow?
Well, I hope what I hear is from parents and students, this gives us hope that we didn't have before. This gives us that opportunity for us to be masters of our own destiny. And we want those kids to choose a field that is going to give them self-satisfaction, that's going to create an opportunity for them to stay here, raise their families here, and comfortably retire right here in the Gem State.
All right, well, we've talked about this for months. So how do you actually apply for it? Well, this is the website, nextsteps.idaho.gov/launch. I will link to it at ktvb.com. And when you come to this page here, you're going to find some information, in-demand careers list. You can see the browse career cards. You'll click on that big blue button, and it'll launch you right into the apply right there. You're going to have to fill out a little bit of paperwork and get that done. But if you have questions, I know that there will likely be some. There could be some common issues. Traditionally, the governor's office or the state will put out a message if there's any issues that people are running into. We haven't heard any reports of that so far, so let us know how it goes for you and your family.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
And just like that, for the first time in history, the United States Speaker of the House is voted out of office. So goodbye, Kevin McCarthy, said the United States House of Representatives with the House vote of 216 to 210. And there were 7 House members absent from the historic vote, but 8 conservatives joined the Democrats in removing him, but not Idaho's congressional delegation. Congressman Mike Simpson gave us a statement saying, quote, "The vote to oust Speaker McCarthy is a distraction and takes away from the critical appropriations process we need to finish. The American people expect House Republicans to govern, not play political games." And yesterday, just as an interesting note, Simpson tweeted that he stands with McCarthy, showing a picture of him with the now former Speaker of the United States House. And also of note, you may be wondering, Representative Russ Fulcher also voted to keep McCarthy. He voted that he did not want to get rid of him. So for now, Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, he's the temporary speaker, and the House Republicans are likely having continued closed-door meetings late into the night, probably as this is going on right now. So we'll keep you posted through our newscasts, but fantastic stuff over there in Washington, D.C. Quite a day. Well, we know we love to answer viewer questions here on the 208. You know it, we know it, it's the best part to me. And we got one yesterday about the presidential election after we heard from Governor Little on calling a special session to change the Republican caucus back to a Republican primary. So, Dee asked, will Democrats and independents be able to vote in the primary election? It's a good question. You're not the only one asking it. So the short answer for you all is yes. Each political party will be hosting their own primary election process to select a candidate that they want to see run for president. The votes in the primary, they carry over to the national conventions and they tally them up. That's how the process works. So, for example, though, if you're a Democrat wondering, about all this, while the players we've talked about in this Idaho game are all Republicans, the impact of the situation, it trickles across to all political parties. And I asked today what the Idaho Democrats are planning on doing, and a spokesperson tells me, quote, because Republicans could not come to an agreement, we are required to hold a presidential caucus. It is scheduled for Thursday, May 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m. And another question I've seen, people asking us to clarify who can actually vote in the Republican, the GOP caucus coming up in March. So I will refer you to the state GOP rules. We can read here together. Only people who have been affiliated as Republican prior to the primary election, including a presidential primary election, will be allowed to vote on an Idaho Republican Party ballot in that primary election. So that's how a closed primary works. All of that in your screen right now basically says you have to be a Republican to vote in our elections. Okay, so what does it count in terms of being a qualified elector with the Republican Party? Well, basically, the party rules say here that if you're not affiliated by December 30th, well, then you're kind of out of luck. You got to wait. If you were with another political party and you decide that you want to reaffiliate with the Republican Party and you haven't done that by December 30th, well, you got to wait 12 months. 12 months wait from December 30th of the year that they wish to affiliate, and this is all in order to affiliate with the Idaho Republican Party. So there you go. You won't be able just to show up the day of the caucus and say, I'm a Republican, I'm here to go. And speaking of the presidential race, the Idaho GOP tweeted out today that their Republican caucus package is en route to Republican presidential candidates. Some nice literature here, nice colors and presentation, even some of Idaho's most beautiful features like the Capitol building, fishing, and the state flower. But there was something that caught our eye. How about this? A BEAUTIFILL mistake. One error that our presidential candidates may notice. You can see that the beautiful state of Idaho said is the beautiful state of Idaho. So some people pointed out. I'll tell you this, though. We have some misspellings, too, on air once in a while. So these things happen. The Idaho Republican caucus is on March 2nd next year. So Idaho will be the 5th Republican state in the country to vote on the presidential nomination process. There are some stories that are just unique. They can't be replicated. And one of those happened right here in Idaho back in the 1990s. Do you remember Ligertown? Liger, as in lion and tiger mix. Well, if you don't know, you're going to find out. If you do know, oh boy, you know. So get ready to watch a story that you will for sure be sharing at work tomorrow with your coworkers. Andrew Bartline takes us to Ligertown next. Something else that can't be replicated? Maybe a special spot that we need to go visit? Tell us all about it, or really text us about anything. Our phone number, 208-321-5614. Please be sure to include your name and hashtag the 208. We're going to put some of your questions and comments, concerns, whatever they are, on air at the end of the show.
What are you drawing?
A liger.
What's a liger?
It's pretty much my favorite animal. It's like a lion and a tiger mixed. Bred for its skills and magic.
Skills and magic. Maybe not so much, or maybe, depends who you ask, but not a bad guess. Cult classic movie Napoleon Dynamite cracked that joke in 2004, nearly a decade after Lava Hot Springs garnered national attention for ligers of its own. Apparently, the liger's biggest skill is breaking out of captivity. In 1995, the Bannock County Sheriff's Office responded to a call warning about these dangerous cats on the loose. a man named Robert Fieber was there who bred them. Why? Well, it's hard to say exactly what he was up to, especially since law enforcement shot and killed nearly 20 exotic cats that Fieber couldn't control. And 28 years later, few hold firsthand knowledge of the local legend, but the current Bannock County Sheriff, he was there, boots on the ground and all, early in his career. And I will tell you this is an interesting story, but a warning that there is some graphic images and some footage of dead animals in this video, so if you're sensitive to that, maybe turn away. But I will tell you this, we did have a slight issue with the Ligers, and we are going to have it for you coming up in a few moments. But for now, I'll just tell you, when we do have that story, it is going to be fantastic. And if you're just joining us here on the 208, we've got a lot going on here. And I am told that we do have the Ligers. All right, let's roll the story. And we had a slight technical issue, so we'll be right back after this break.
This is just one All right, in the television world, this is what we called an extended deep tease. We are now ready to show you the Ligers that came to Idaho. Roll the footage.
Okay, is the lion just standing there or is it moving around?
I can't see it. My husband says he can.
Okay, ask him if it's moving or...
He says it's behind a dead tree.
This is just one of many complaints filed against Ligertown, a nearly decade-long operation outside Lava Hot Springs to house and breed exotic big cats.
When I think about it, man, that was a long time ago.
28 years and some change, to be exact.
That kind of in itself was, unnerving. So
Bannock County Sheriff Tony Manu was just a few years into his career.
just pandemonium. It was a mess.
How would you describe that, I guess, compound, for lack of a better term?
Shanty made of pallets, chain link fence, chicken wire. It was just kind of pieced together. It's a compound that was there. We knew existed. Always had complaints, but at that point, at that time, there was no laws against them raising exotic animals at the time.
For that reason, Ligertown, owned by Robert Fieber, was 100% legal.
In fact, I think that's why the law was created in Idaho, because of that mess.
The mess marked September 20th, 1995.
The owner actually got mauled by one, and he was really always overprotective with those animals, but that night he was, what he wanted done, he said, kill them things.
An 8-day intervention, killing 18 cats total, 15 on the first night.
Sniper rifles on the hood of the Ford Bronco, and then as the next one comes out, we're starting to shoot at these lions as they come out of that hole.
So he called you guys and said, I need help.
Yes, he called us, and there was a love-hate relationship prior to all that. I mean, we knew him by first name. I've talked to him before in town. He'd run around town in a little blue pickup with a cage, and he'd always have one of the smaller, younger cubs in the back of his pickup.
He's driving around town with a cub in the bed of his pickup.
Oh, yeah. You just knew that's what they did.
Calls about an escaped lion weren't new.
Where were they getting out?
And the evidence shows they could come and go.
Yeah, that's the hole that they patched a while ago.
And often did.
Yes.
You could see there had been trails coming down to that creek, and they were going through there, drinking out of the creek and coming back to the compound.
Or rather, a graveyard.
They got to feed them something, and it was anything they could salvage. Any roadkill, anything. Bones on top of bones on top of bones. And it was disgusting.
It sounds like you don't miss it too much.
No, but like I said, when people call about it, it's kind of cool to think back. I do have skulls in my office.
You have a Liger skull.
I don't know if it's a Liger, but it's one of the skulls. They used to be in a display case, but we've gotten rid of that display case, so I keep them in my office.
Perhaps the last physical evidence of the Ligers' lingering memories.
You would never know. Our county road and bridge went over there and just leveled that thing.
Kept by one of the last serving law enforcement officers to be there.
They're going to move the bear trap up close.
His boots on the ground.
Especially in 32 years in law enforcement, there's a lot of things that just stack up. And I really don't think about it until someone calls about it.
Sheriff Manu says he can't remember exactly what happened to Fieber legally, but Idaho Public Television reported he faced 100 charges, but that was knocked down to about a dozen misdemeanors, primarily facing animal cruelty charges. And I admittedly, Joe, did not know a Liger was real until our producer Katie's like, hey, you should look into this today. It's been 28 years, roughly, give or take a couple weeks. Yeah, they're real. Great movie. Love Napoleon Dynamite. I didn't know you could actually do it.
It's crazy when you talk about Ligertown, and I do want to again mention our friends at Idaho Public Television. Thank you so much for sharing some of your footage. And they had a great documentary that came out recently. We can link to that in Andrew's story. But it's wild to think about what happens in some of these towns over the years, and especially back in the 90s, before social media. Can you imagine today if it happened?
Yeah, and laws changed about it because it was so wild, as you say, pun intended.
Ha ha, Idaho's the Wild West. All right, Andrew Bartline reporting for us. We'll be right back.
All right, let's talk about your weather today. More accumulating rainfall for the third day of September. Generally less than 1/10 of an inch across most of the Treasure Valley. A little more for the Magic Valley. The biggest accumulations in Stanley and McCall today. Stanley picked up nearly 1/3 of an inch, and there are still some mountain showers coming down. But for the first time today, we're finally seeing some blue sky over the city of trees, and temperatures are warming in response to that sunshine breaking through. Up to 64 degrees in Boise right now. Still below average, but a little more pleasant than we've been over the last couple of days as far as those temperatures go. So still some heavy rain falling in portions of the, looks like just south of Sun Valley, so areas of Blaine County. A couple of sprinkles trying to develop around the Long Valley in Washington County, but for the most part, the wet weather is over and done with outside of those lingering showers. So from west to east tonight, we'll see the clouds start to clear. Winds will remain light overnight, and with a saturated atmosphere, atmosphere. All of that means we'll likely start seeing some patchy fog developing in places for Wednesday morning. So Boise will drop down to 46 degrees with those very light northwest winds. We will see some fog likely at its densest in places like McCall and Jerome and the Magic Valley, but still could impact the morning commute tomorrow, just depending on where you are. So be ready for that Wednesday morning. After that, mostly sunny skies emerge. Highs up near 70 tomorrow for the Boise area, likely into the 70s for Caldwell and Ontario, mid 60s for Jerome and Twin Falls, and highs around 60 in our mountains. After that, we continue to warm. Look at this gorgeous forecast coming our way for the end of the work week and on into the weekend. We will be up to 80 degrees by Sunday with another cool down coming in by the middle of next week.
All right, let's get some of your comments to end the show. This person says, hashtag the 208. I lived in Pocatello during the time of Ligertown and drove past it many times. Unless you saw it, you cannot imagine how bad it was. WC in Nampa. Yeah, just looking at the videos and images from, recently, I'd seen it for the first time. Absolutely tragic. Those lions, those ligers, those animals, they deserve so much better, deserve much better treatment. So very tragic story that we do want to say that. A lot of life lost there. All right, this person says, come on, misspellings are acceptable, just an excuse. How about perfection being acceptable? I would agree. That would be a really good thing to aspire to be. But nobody's perfect, right? This person says, hashtag the 208. Sometimes KTVB has spelling mistakes and sometimes broadcasting mistakes. That's from Doug in Boise. And Doug, you're right, mistakes happen. It's going to happen at your job. It's going to happen in our job. So there we go. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the 208.